Hey, how's it going, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2018 mod career mode here for the British Grand Prix for episode number 9 today. If you did miss the previous episode, the Austrian Grand Prix involving a fun little wheelie, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But hopefully we can go well around here. Obviously, as always, riding as Fernando Alonso in his McLaren, but technically it's my home Grand Prix, so hopefully we can go well. And obviously, I really enjoy Silverstone as a circuit, so hopefully it can be a good one. But obviously, guys, previously, earlier this week, the vanilla career mode for F1 2017 wrapped up here as a series on my channel, so hopefully I'll be speeding up this series and you'll see a few more uploads per week of this series. Not straight away, I'm talking from like in 1 week's time, so expect 1 week till the next episode, but then after that hopefully we'll be able to ramp it up a little bit faster there. But let's get into the starting grid then before we head down to the actual Grand Prix and get this thing going. So this is how the starting grid looks then for round number 10 of the 2018 season at the British Grand Prix around Silverstone, and pole position goes to the home favourite Lewis Hamilton in his Mercedes car, alongside Kimi Raikkonen in second, who out-qualifies his teammate Sebastian Vettel quite surprisingly to finish out that front row. In the second row then, Sebastian Vettel does take up third and Valtteri Bottas in P4, so a bit of a checkerboard there then for Ferrari and Mercedes. The third row then is all Red Bull and pretty much Noah's Ark for the entire top 10. Daniel Ricciardo ahead of Max Verstappen once again, but both Red Bulls will be hoping to have a closer fight than they had at Austria to the top two there of Mercedes and Ferrari. The next row, like I said, all Noah's Ark is then Renault, Nico Hülkenberg and Carlos Sainz, and good for Sainz to once again be right up there with his teammate. Renault hoping to build on what was a strong performance at Austria, and they're in a big fight with this team, Haas, Romain Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen, the two teams very close together in the Constructors, so that'll be a big fight today around Silverstone. Then outside the top 10 is Sergio Perez in P11, who out-qualifies both us McLaren. Stoffel Van Dorn also getting the better of me personally in P12, then ahead of ourselves in P13 as Fernando Alonso lost a lot of time through the last corner on the qualifying lap, so that's a shame. We'll be looking forward, hopefully, rather than backwards from P13 alongside Esteban Ocon in P14 then. Then the next row is all Toro Rosso. Pierre Gasly and Brendan Hartley doing a decent job to get ahead at least of both Williams and Alfa Romeo Sauber cars, with Sergei Sopkin once again pulling out the bag in 17th place ahead of Charles Leclerc in P18. And finally, once again, the last row of the grid goes to Marcus Ericsson and Lance Stroll, that struggling Williams car, to round out the grid for the British Grand Prix. Right, so here we are then in P13 ahead of the Grand Prix, our lowest position so far in the career mode series. A little bit surprising considering the circuit. I thought I'd generally go well here against the AI, but like I mentioned in the starting grid lineup, I lost a lot of time through the last corner, a couple of tenths really. I think I was around P10 or P9 before that, so obviously also factoring in that the Renault and Haas have been pretty consistent, and also Renault receiving upgrades through as the season's gone on in terms of the mod, getting a bit of a bump upgrade there for both those two, obviously has factored into that, but I think we can still go well. It's going to be high tyre wear here, so I'm going to go for the default strategy of a two-stop here, switching out to go to the soft tyres in the middle of the stints, and then going for another set of super softs right at the end with hopefully lower fuel, able to fight back there. But it's going to be tricky. I mean, there is in theory high tyre wear, but also we'll see how the AI actually react to that on the medium tyres. But I think for us, the two-stop may be the better way to go. I guess we'll see that in the race, and obviously, as usual, filling up a bit more fuel as we want to try and burn some, especially at the start. We want to make a good getaway from P13 to hopefully already get us into the top 10 in the opening few laps, and then we can try and get to work. So here we go then to 5 red lights for the British Grand Prix. Round number 10 of the 2018 season is going to be underway, and the lights are out 26 laps ahead of us of Silverstone. It's a good start for Stoffel Van Dorn. A bit of a shaky one for us, but we haven't lost a position, so into turn 1, can we do anything as Van Dorn goes down the inside then of Sergio Perez, and there's a bit of a squabbling but also between the Haas and the Renault. We're going to try and send it down the inside of Perez if we can, as Van Dorn squeezed them out, and we squirt the throttle to try and actually get ourselves alongside Van Dorn here. So we're going to try and fight for P11 if we can. On the outside of the corner there, we get squeezed out somewhat, and we have to stick behind him, tuck up behind momentarily for a bit of slipstream, and Van Dorn looks to be defending the inside line, so we'll have to go around the outside. It will turn to the inside though eventually as we go towards the Luffield section, and now try and squirt the throttle as best we can, as early as we can, to try and squeeze out our teammate, but he's got some great traction on the outside, and it's a drag race between us two McLarens, and Van Dorn looks like to be keeping up with this actually, and he's pulling alongside, and so we're still neck and neck now as we enter the second half of this lap then, and through Copse, Van Dorn's still there, very impressed, bit of contact contacts actually made, and the hand of anger goes up in the cockpit. We squeeze him out into Magdebecket's, bit of contact made there, so a little bit of love, no love lost between teammates, but we kind of stamp our authority there, and we're up into P11 eventually. But I was very taken aback actually how much Van Dorn fought me there on lap 1. Very, surprised in a positive way. So hopefully both of us can have a good Grand Prix this time, because I have complained in the past in this series that he hasn't really been pulling his weight in the team to help me in the constructors fight. Meanwhile though, this sort of fight for P2, Kimi Räikkönen has actually had a stellar start at the beginning of this Grand Prix from second place on the grid, and he's up in first place at the moment, dominating the race. And it's Hamilton v Vettel for P2 and P3, with Bottas close behind, followed by the two Red Bulls, and Vettel and Hamilton go hammer and tong through cops there. Vettel on the left, Hamilton on the right, and Hamilton is powered past using that Mercedes engine to good use there. You could see quite clearly off the back of Luffield on the exit how much he was able just to crank up the power to close back to Vettel. Looks like the Ferrari has some pace in the corners, but down the straight you can see now Bottas closing up to Vettel as well. The Mercedes definitely able to flex his muscles in a straight line still in his 2018 mod, but at the moment Hamilton ahead of Vettel, then Bottas and the two Red Bulls, and hopefully we can maybe try and chase after them, but we have a lot of overtaking to do before we get to that, because we have to overtake two Haas cars and two Renaults. We're down the inside of one. Kevin Magnussen giving us a tough fight through Stowe, and on the exit he's not giving up here, so we're going to have to try and do this around the outside. But as we get into the last chicane, he outbrakes us initially, but then we're going to squeeze him out as we go through the final second last corner to the last, and we're up into P10 finally. So decent progress. We're on lap 3 now, and we're finally in the top 10, so I'd say that's pretty okay, and we can get a move on now to the next few, which will be Romain Grosjean and the two Renaults of Sainz and Hulkenberg. But meanwhile, for this fight between, I guess, the top 3 teams minus Raikkonen, is Vettel once again now at the back of Hamilton. These two once again go side by side through Stowe though. Vettel looks to have it, and I think he's squeezed out Hamilton completely there, and actually Hamilton now a little bit shaken, is now under attack from his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Bottas on the outside, will he be able to go the entire long way round through the last corner? He'll try his best, but no, he gets squeezed out by Hamilton, and now might have to look behind him in his mirrors at the two Red Bulls are literally nose to tail there. So decent stuff for Ricciardo and Verstappen, both matching each other equally there, as they've had a few issues trying to really get up there, and both in tandem fight the top 2 teams so far in this career mode. They're kind of in no man's land, when we look at the constructors' points between ourselves and McLaren, and then Ferrari and Mercedes in that constructors' top 2 fight. But now we're back to our POV and focusing back to us, and you can see now we're behind Nico Hulkenberg. So surprising and good to see once again Carlos Sainz kind of pulling up his socks, because for the first few episodes of this career mode so far, Sainz has really not been anywhere in terms of battling Hulkenberg and kind of beating him on track in the race, and he's been lacking behind points wise. But ever since last race he's been doing a lot better, and so let's hope he can try and stay up there. But I mean, for Renault's sake, both of them will want to score big, because they're in a good fight with Haas so far. But you can see there, like what Sainz did to us last episode actually at Austria, Hulkenberg's now the one, another Renault that brake tests us into one of the corners there. We had to lock up and try and avoid his rear end, and we have to be patient and wait till the back end straight towards Stowe. Open DRS, Rich Mix going for just a little bit down that straight before we put it down to standard. Of course, fuel load, a big issue in this mod, and I kind of like that aspect. It keeps me on the toe for sure whilst we do the entire race. It means I can't just bung it on Rich Mix the entire race long. I have to play around with it, which is definitely a luxury. That wasn't a case back on the vanilla career mode. With 7 seasons in, the fuel really wasn't an issue, whereas now back here on the 2018 mod, kind of nice to have that aspect and challenge in the race. But we got yellow flags ahead, and Carlos Sainz is out of the Grand Prix, and oh my god, we just narrowly missed a collision there with Valtteri Bottas, I think that was, as Carlos Sainz is out the Grand Prix. I don't know if Bottas and Sainz made contact. I think Sainz was tied out this Grand Prix on his own accord, but Valtteri Bottas with a puncher, I think that was, and that was very close stuff. Nearly, if he had just moved an inch more left or be an inch more right, that could have been a horrendous high-speed crash there. So thank God for that. Definitely heart skipped a beat there, and you saw the car wobbling around. Just about caught that before we entered Magdebeckett. So bit of an enthralling moment there at the British Grand Prix, but it does mean we technically gain 2 free positions, because Sainz is out of this Grand Prix, and also Valtteri Bottas. I don't know if he's completely out, but he's definitely out of the top flight, so we're definitely going to have 2 free positions there. So I think after this pit stop we should be looking at about maybe around P8, because we were in P10, so maybe around P8 depending on how everyone does. Obviously we're coming in, looks like Magnussen is also come in with us, so both of us a little bit earlier maybe than some of the cars around us, so we'll see how the undercut works versus our teammate. But let's look at a replay now of Nico Hulkenberg, who was behind us, remember, in his Renault. Signs out on the left there, but oh, look at that. I think actually Hulkenberg and Bottas made contact. I think actually Hulkenberg sustained some damage there. So unlucky for him and unlucky for Renault as a whole. I was just talking about Sainz doing well versus Hulkenberg and Renault needing to do well as a team, but really unfortunate for them. Once again, they've got some bad luck like they have done in the previous few episodes. But in more pressing matters, Van Dorn, you can clearly see, has come out ahead of us now on medium tyres. He's jumped me and Magnussen, so that's a quite an overpowered overcut there from Van Dorn. So I wonder how much time actually me and Magnussen really lost in that yellow flag period, and maybe I lost more time than I thought when I kind of had to lift off a little bit and kind of recompose myself off that close collision with Bottas. So we re-overtake Van Dorn then on lap 10 to get back up into P13 at the moment, where our grid slot was, ironically. But yeah, very odd and impressive once again that Van Dorn was able to have that much pace at the end of his soft tyre stint to actually pull off that overcut. Obviously he's on mediums now, Grosjean the same, so I would imagine that means Grosjean and Van Dorn are both trying the one stop that was there as a default strategy. But like I said, the 2018 mod we have for this series makes the tyre wear a bit more aggressive, so we'll see how they actually do on those sets of tyres. Me and Magnussen definitely on a two stop because K-Mag's on super soft, so he's 100% on a two stop, I should say. Whereas you never know, maybe we could pull off a one. It'd be quite a bold miracle kind of strategy, but we'll see how it goes really in this Grand Prix. But I definitely think that we're going to have to fight back and basically get back a pit stop, at least on our teammate, who's doing a decent job around this time round at the British Grand Prix. But we're up into P11 then. Quick overtake on Lance Stroll then in a straight line. The Williams car is obviously struggling quite a bit for downforce and even straight line speed really in this mod, and they've been pretty much the lackeys in this, along with Sauber Alfa Romeo, who have just been always constantly a little bit there, just further ahead of them. But now we move on to lap 12 and we are gaining on Romain Grosjean, so that's positive signs that it looks like indeed his tyre wear is a little bit more than a medium tyre would usually be in the base game here, and we are, you can see, setting personal best and we are gaining on him, so that's good news for us, because if I'm trying to fight for best of the rest, which would be ahead of Grosjean, we need to pass him and we need to try and build a gap to him. But we move later on to the Grand Prix. It's actually the Swede Marcus Ericsson we're closing up to then, so he's going very long on a set of soft tyres that he's probably been on from the start of this Grand Prix, but it will be an easy overtake then on him, and obviously he's got his own kind of plan to go as long as he can to try and make his own one-stop work. But we are still gaining on Grosjean. That's the more important issue. And actually up ahead, something that will play into our fight is the two Red Bull cars fighting now. Verstappen on Ricciardo. Verstappen the one chasing and trying to make an overtake now on the right-hand side of the circuit, but Ricciardo doesn't give him much room, and the two make a little bit of contact into the apex and into Luffield. Then Ricciardo, oh my god, really did not give Verstappen any kind of room to wiggle there. Bit of contact made and Verstappen has to recompose himself, but I think now you can see the way he's falling back away from Ricciardo. Maybe a little bit of damage sustained from that contact there, and in the background you can just about see that Haas and McLaren pulling through of Grosjean and myself as Fernando Alonso. And as we're into lap 18 now, me and Grosjean are both catching Verstappen, so Verstappen 100% has some sort of issue, locks up into the village section, and Grosjean gets blocked off out, and now we're right up the back of the Frenchman. So we're going to have to play this a little bit carefully, be a bit patient, because obviously Grosjean's going to want to attack Verstappen, and I can try and play this as best we can to maybe not lose too much time. We're going to also box this lap at the same time, because around lap 19 was when the default strategy was going to be to box in, but I may as well box in now, because if I can't make this overtake work, I don't want to be held up in traffic here. And you can see I'm trying to find the best racing line to make this work, but just unable to get the traction down. We're in lean mixture there, because through those corners, you know, being hit with dirty air, there's no point me putting it up into standard or rich to just lose some fuel, so I may as well play it a bit tactically and save the fuel for when I actually can make the overtake. And that's not even going to be right now as we go through Maggots and Beckett's, and Grosjean's still ahead of us, and I'm unable to make the pass because he's getting a good toe off Verstappen and also equally giving me some dirty air. But now as we pull on to the back straight towards Stowe, we'll have DRS as well. Obviously Grosjean will too, but maybe we can try and dive it down the inside possibly. But no, we're just a bit too far back at the moment as we go towards Stowe. I try and gain as much as I can in the brake zone, but in the end I could probably lose more time Then again, they're locking up in 5th gear, but we are going to come in like we planned then for our second and final pit stop. Big double lock up to try and slow the car down there before the line, and we've got to slow down for the pit lane entry. So now we're going to be onto a set of super soft tyres, so the tyres we were on before, and obviously we're going to be on lower fuel, so hopefully the tyre wear won't be as big as it was in that first stint. And obviously we have saved off a decent amount of fuel, being a bit clever, putting into lean mixture when we can, you know, through Maggotts and Beckett's, when we're fighting other cars, you know, there's not too much time to be gained going into rich mix. So we have some fuel to burn, not a lot, but we do have some, so we'll see how it goes then in this final stint. And remember, for those on medium tyres, they might be going to the end, so we'll have to do some overtaking and try and pray a little maybe that some of those guys start fighting each other. Otherwise we may go a little bit lower down than be hoping to in this Grand Prix. We're on lap 21, lap 22 now, we're up into P11 then, chasing after Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso car. Looks like he's chasing after Nico Hülkenberg in the Renault, and you can see Leclerc just coming out of the pit lane. Can we make the overtake on the outside? It's gonna be close, but a nice smooth move on the outside there, and thankfully Leclerc stayed to the inside and didn't pull even more onto the racing line, so that was kind of nicely choreographed. And we're up into P11 now, and with only a couple laps to go in this Grand Prix, it's not looking great, I'm not going to say, to maybe get that best of the rest, which would technically be P6, because Bottas is out of this Grand Prix. We get held up quite a bit there by Gasly, actually makes some contact, I think that was, on his rear end into Luffield, and he's really holding me up here, and he's not got the best of traction off that corner, so clearly the medium tyres going a little bit more off than my new super soft tyres, and we're going to try and make a bold move on the outside of Cobbs, keep the foot in there on the exit, ride the curb a little bit, and we're up into P10 then, and now we'll get on the back of the German Nico Hülkenberg. But you can see we're in P10 now, and on the mini map you can clearly see on the top, on the bottom left, there's a big old gap after Hülkenberg. So I have a bad feeling that Van Dorn and a couple of the other guys might be able to pull off a really decent one stop, which is unfortunate because obviously I know the one stop is the way to go in the 2017 career, but I was really counting on the fact the tyre wear was going to be a lot more in the 2018 mod, but it just hasn't come in fast enough. You can clearly see Hülkenberg and Gasly are struggling with traction, and there's no doubt the tyre wear is higher, because I can see that on my indicator as well on the previous two stints, but it's not been high enough for me to gain the uber amount of time I need to. I mean, across the line lap 26 onto the last lap of the Grand Prix, I'm gaining, you know, nearly 2 seconds a lap at the moment against Esteban Ocon, and I think ahead of him is Stoffel Van Dorn, but 2 seconds a lap is not enough when there's only 3 or 4 laps left, and so unfortunately I'm going to have to settle for P9 in this Grand Prix. I mean, it's higher than where we started in P13, but it's going to be only P9, and for the first time now in this career mode series, Stoffel Van Dorn beats me, so I don't know, I was kind of asking for it, wasn't I, at the end of last episode and the last few, so I can't complain too much for Van Dorn finally stepping up to the plate, but yeah, I kind of really misjudged and counted too much on the tyre wear being high on every tyre for them to kind of lose too much time there. But Kimi Räikkönen wins a Grand Prix now for the first time in this season. So far, it's only been between the two Mercs, Vettel and Ricciardo. So Räikkönen now a new winner in this series ahead of Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo. Verstappen in 4th place there. Vettel and Bottas both out of the top 10 with both of them suffering issues. I think Vettel a 2-stop and just hitting a lot of traffic and maybe some damage, and obviously Bottas we saw before with the puncher. So those two obviously big title contenders so far in this career mode series. You know, Vettel was leading the championship, so that'll be a big blow for him, and could see Hamilton now in the lead with Bottas also suffering some points hit there with you can see Sergio Perez doing great in P6, Esteban Ocon in P8, so a strong day for Force India. And you know, kind of like some of you guys were wishing, a lot of you guys in the comments below were saying you were hoping that Force India could get into that fight to join Haas and Renault. That's exactly what's happened today really, with both of them finishing so strong. But there you go, in the Drivers' Championship then, Lewis Hamilton leading the way now by a couple of points to Sebastian Vettel. Bottas in 3rd. It's all the same actually, you know, the points might change a little bit, but all the same structure up until P10, and Sergio Perez gets back into the top 11 then with good points paying positions for him today with 19 points now, only 1 point off Nico Hülkenberg. And the constructors now, not much changes for the top, but just like I said, you guys wish for it and you guys get it. It's now Force India only 3 points behind Renault, and those two only a couple of points behind Haas there. So, you know, all within one race, that could change, but it's a really big scrap in the midfield between Haas, Renault and Force India. You can see us and Red Bull kind of in no man's land a little bit there in P3 and P4, but it's all hotting up also at the top with Ferrari and Mercedes seeming to be swapping back and forth at least for the race lead and the win so far from the last episode and to this one with Räikkönen winning. So guys, if you did enjoy the episode, hit that like button. Let's try and aim for over 1,000 likes if we can, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of that one. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And like I said at the beginning, with the vanilla career mode ended, I'll be hoping to ramp up the speed of this series a little bit more. Not straight away, like I said. So probably for the next week, there'll be one episode for the next weekend. But then after that, hopefully I'll be able to speed it up, and we're looking at least 2 episodes a week, maybe even 3 if we can do it. I'll kind of see how it kind of fits into the schedule with the other videos and whatnot. But hopefully that sounds good, and if that does, be sure to hit that like and let me know that you want to see more of this series. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys for the next one. Goodbye.